Good morning, everyone. Welcome, and we're going to get started. Okay, thank you. All right, so welcome to our enrollment completion training. I'm going to get our PowerPoint slide deck up here. And on your screen, you should see our title page of our slide deck. So again, welcome to our enrollment completion training. My name is Dewana McQuarrie, and I'm going to be your presenter for this morning's training session. In the chat, we also have Diana Terry, who's going to be monitoring our chat. She's here on behalf of PTD. And we're going to go right into our topics for what we're going to cover this morning. We'd like to thank all of you for introducing yourselves in the chat. Good morning to everyone. If we have new users, we'd like to say welcome. We will be going over some of the topics that we went over in our spring task training. So if you're a new user, we'll show you where all of the instructional guides and documents can be found. So we'll get you all caught up. So I'm going to go to our next slide. And this is the agenda. This is what we're going to go through today. So as we always do in all of our trainings, we have our introduction, and that's where we show all of our support resources. After our introduction, we're going to go into our review of our spring task entry topics. A lot of the enrollment completion involves the topics that we covered during the spring training. So if you attended that spring training a couple weeks ago, you already have a good idea of what we're going to be talking about in the review. So we're going to take some time to review those topics. If you want guides as well as videos of these topics in depth, I would refer you to the spring task training video. We did a virtual training for that session and we recorded it. So I would encourage you to take a look at the spring task training video, but we're going to go over it just briefly today over a lot of those topics. After we do our review, we're going to go into our break. Our break is going to be 10 minutes. And then after our break, we're going to go into our validation. That's the main point that we want to drive today in today's training is running the validation and making sure that your data doesn't have any errors and adhering to warnings if possible. After we do our validation, we will go into our enrollment report submission. So we will go through as a building reporter, the process that you would take to submit to your fiscal agent. And as the fiscal agent, the process you would take to submit to your CEPD administrator. And then after we go through our submission demo, we're going to go into our looking ahead, which is our closing. And we're just going to remind you of some of the upcoming due dates just to get you all set to go. So our support resources and PTD contact information, I have dropped in the chat and pinned our support site, and that is support.cetis.com. You can use this site to get all of the guides, templates, and resource information that we cover in training today. This slide deck, along with all of the other materials that we'll use when we go into our demos, can be found on this site. If you're in the application after today's training and you find that you need technical support, we ask that you reach out to the CETEIS Help Desk. They're very helpful. Their email as well as their telephone number is on this slide. If you find that you have questions related to policy, we ask that you contact OCTE directly, and the representative is Joan Church. Her email as well as her telephone number is also on this slide. Before we go over to our support site so that I can show you where all of your resource information can be found, I just like to give a brief overview of what we're going to be covering again during our review. So from our spring test training, we highlighted these certain points. You want to verify that your CTE course sections are entered accurately. You want to make sure that your teachers are properly assigned to classes. You want to make sure that your students have valid UICs. You want to make sure that students are enrolled in the correct courses and segment and competency information is verified. You want to start making sure that your credentials are linked to your students correctly and that your work-based learning experiences are recorded. So as we go through our review, these are the points that we're going to highlight. If you download this slide deck, this particular slide has the links. Again, I'm going to go to our support site, but if you click on these links here, this is the Manage Courses link, the Manage Students, the Migrant Students, Manage Enrollment, Manage Credentials, and Manage Work-Based Learning. These are all of the screens that I'm going to go through in our review, and you can access the guides to give you step-by-step directions on how to access and how to input your data on these screens. So again, the following topics were not required if you did entry in the fall. Some of these topics were not required in the fall, but all of these are required for your end of the year completion. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change my screen from my slide deck and head over to our support site to show you where all of the information can be found that we're covering today, as well as our templates. So I'm going to go on pause for a second as I switch over my screen. So on your screen, this is the home page of support.cetis.com. This first portion here is all of the information that we're going to cover. If you look here under Explore Documentation, these are quick links to link you to the guides for the specific categories that are listed here. So today we're going to be under the enrollment. So all of the enrollment guides can be found by clicking this link. On your right-hand side, down the side panel here, are all of the due dates that are reflective of the OCTE calendar. So if you received the OCTE calendar when they sent that out a while back, these are the same due dates that are there. So this is just here for your convenience to keep you up to date on the upcoming collection periods. Today, we're going to go under the data entry. If you hover over the column headers, you can also access information. So we're just going to hover over data entry and we're going to go to the enrollment homepage. So this is the page that we use for our enrollment training. Again, if you're a new user, you might find information under the new user tab helpful. So you can click on the new user presentation. When we had our fall task training, that information was there. Recently, we went through our spring enrollment task presentation. So that's the information that I was referring to there. So you can access the video of the training if you want to go back and review that. Today, we're going to be under the CETEIS year-end tab, and this is our enrollment completion collection guides. So you can review this information today. This is where the slide deck will be as well. I'm going to go to that in just a second. Over here, under general information, again, this is just the OCTE report due dates. Some other useful information here. Under special collections, the managed credential guides, credentials template, managed work-based learning guides, a work-based learning template, migrant student guide, as well as PowerSchool and work-based learning resources. If you still need instructional designs for both Perkins 4 and Perkins 5, you can access that by clicking on these links. Again, we went through that information on how to set up instructional designs in our spring task training. So again, if you want to get in-depth information on that, you can refer to that video. We will not be covering that information today. So under CTEIS year end, we're going to go under the CTEIS year end enrollment completion. And this is all of the guides that are useful for this particular portion of the year. If you click this link here, it says click for enrollment guide link summary. This is only if you want to access all of the guides without the explanation. So it's the same guides, it's just here in bullet points. So if you're doing printing or something like that, you could just go back to the next link and print. So this is just, again, for your convenience. But if you don't mind the explanations, this here just kind of outlines what each guide kind of entails, as well as the videos. So the first bit of information here is the support resources. So your support and assistance guides, CTEIS overview, roles and access, timeline, my login access instruction, due dates, terms and abbreviations. All of this information is useful if you're a new user, so that information is there. The first section here is verify and input your data. There's a graphic here that shows the process of that. So manage courses, manage students, migrant students, if that applies, and manage enrollment is the information that we're going to be covering there. Again, I'm going to go to our training site to demonstrate all of these screens. So if you want step-by-step access, you can access that here. These are videos. If you want shorter bits of information, you can click on this link here and it will take you to videos. And then we're going to go into manage credentials and work-based learning and just show the screens for that. So the first process is to verify and input all of your data. The next process is to review. So this is a data review link. You will be, if you click this link, you will be navigated to a PDF document that shows all of the reports that are useful in the CTEIS application. Once you log on to CTEIS.com, this is just an outline of all of the reports and building reports that might be useful to you. After you review your data in the system, run the validation and submit your data. So this document here is a validation and enrollment submission document, again, a PDF that can be printed. And this is just going to show how to run the validation and how to submit, as I stated earlier. As a building reporter, your task is to submit to the fiscal agent. The fiscal agent's task is to submit to the CEPD administrator. So this is that process. As you're running your validation, you may find that you may have errors within your document. This is an error resolution guide. This is very helpful. Once I get to that portion of the training, this is the guide that I will be referring to. And then last, this information is just the training resources. Again, this is the slide deck that I used earlier. And then once we post the video of the training webinar, we're going to link it here. So this is all of the support resources. And we're going to go to our training site now to start our review. So 1 second while I switch my screen over. Okay, and we're back. This here is the training site. This is at train.cetis.com. I have put in the chat if you want to practice some of the processes that we're doing today, you can do so by going to train.cetis.com using your My Login credentials, and you will not mess up your actual data. That's if you want to practice the techniques that we're going to be using today. Again, this information is being recorded. If you want to follow along in the presentation today and maybe later on go to the training site, you're welcome to do that. But we want to make sure that everyone's keeping up. So again, if you want to practice along, you can do that by going to train.cetis.com using your My Login access. So this training site mirrors the actual CETIS site. So this border and things might be a little different, but this is the Michigan CETIS site. This is the home page. If you look under the Explore Documentation section here, you will be linked back to the knowledge base. If you click these links for enrollment or expenditures, this will just link you back to the support site for the guides. Again, this is for your convenience while you're in the application. On the right-hand side are just, again, the OCTE report due dates. There's some news here in the center. So up here in the actual CETIS site, you will see it says log in using My Login. That's where you put your My Login access ID information. Once you go through the verification on the My Login for third-party site, you'll be navigated back to the CETIS homepage. But for this training purpose and this training site, we don't have to go through the verification. So I'm just going to hit the login. And I've been granted access as a building reporter for these demonstrations. So that's what I'm going to log in as. And now, as we can see, the data entry options open for me as well as reports. If you want to access a directory, up here in the actual site would be your name. You can click your name and get a district list. And this has your CEPD information, their names, their telephone numbers, as well as emails and the buildings that they have and that they access. So if you need this information to reach out to someone, you can access this by clicking your name. So I'm just going to go to data entry and click the data entry header. And now this opens up as a building reporter for all of the capabilities that I have access to. So I have access for enrollment, I have access for follow-up, and I have access for expenditures. Again, once you log in, your particular access will show up. So today we're going to be going through enrollment, and this is all of the screens pertaining to enrollment. And I mentioned these when we were in our support site. And these are the guides that's going to show you all of the processes for these screens. So the guides are available on the support site, but we're going to go ahead and go right into our demonstration. So the first demonstration I'm going to go to is manage courses. And this is the Manage Courses screen. In Manage Courses, you can add, edit, and review records. If you've already created your courses within your district, then you're all set. Today, I'm going to be working out of the Breckenridge Community Schools, so I'm going to select my district. And by default, CETIS is going to give me all active courses within this district. If I wanted to include previous year courses, I can do so by clicking the radio button here. This will list all of the records that I have. And as it states here, there are 16 records of the programs that are within this particular building. This is all of the courses. So if I want to create a new course, I come over here and hit the Create New Course button. I will then be prompted to select the building, and again, Breckenridge, and then select the program. For this particular demo, the only program that I have available is this one, so I'm going to select that. It's a Perkins 4 agriculture program. And the bottom panel opens up for me to fill in the core information to create the program. So all of the asterisks here indicate information that you need to create a course within CETEIS. So once you obtain that information from your instructors or your whoever it is that you're receiving that information from, depending on your particular district, you're going to fill in that information here. And using the drop down menu here for virtual delivery mode, this panel over here, you cannot type in this panel. This is the program panel. So it shows the type of program, the program serial number, the CPID, as well as the building. Down here, because this is a Perkins 4, it shows the segment profile panel. You can go in and select all of the segments that will be available within this particular course. Course staff, again, you need to make sure that staff is tied to courses. So if you go in here, you can select a staff type. You can enter the staff name if you have the staff name and you want to search for that in the system. You can search there. By clicking this icon here, you can enter in a PIC number, the last name, gender, and then the staff type. Once you enter in all of that information, hitting the save icon will then tie this particular staff to this particular course, and then you want to go ahead and hit the add course button. So if this was a Perkins 5 course, this would say competency profile, and all of the information works the same way. If you've typed in these panels and you find that you don't want to save any of the information, hitting the cancel return button will take you back without saving that information in the system. So again, depending on your instructional design and getting that information as a building reporter, you will then enter in all of this information to create a course. If you want to go in and edit existing courses, you can do so by going through and selecting the particular course that you're looking for. You can also use the column headers here to type in to sort for a particular course if you don't want to look here in the information here. But once you find the course that you are looking for, you're going to select the book icon. And this will pull up the course information that you can edit. So if you want to go in and edit any of the information in the fields here, you can do that, as well as the segment profile, segment or competency profile information, or course staff. Once you've made all of your edits, you will then go to the update course button, and that information will be saved in the system. If you want to copy this course, that means keep this existing course active, as well as copy the information into another course. You can do that by hitting the copy course. It will create another record while keeping this intact. If you need to deactivate this course, you can hit the deactivate course button, and this will deactivate this particular course. And again, if you don't want to save any of your changes, you can hit the cancel and return, and it won't create that record. Again, I would refer you to the Managed Courses Guide to look at more definitions, as well as all of the information for accessing the Managed Courses screen if you wanted to do that. So let's say all of our courses are updated here manually. You can go back up to data entry. You can import course information. So we're going to go to import courses. So if you don't want to use the manual option by going in and putting in all of the information, you can use an import template for your courses. So you're going to, again, select your building. And then this screen prompts us to import our course file. So I'm going to go back to our knowledge base to show you where our import templates can be found. So this is the home page of our knowledge base. If you hover over data entry and select imports, this is all of the import templates for the courses as well as students. So this is an importing courses guide and an importing students guide. When we get to that section, file import formats for importing students, and then file import formats for importing courses. So if you click this link, you will bring up an Excel export, which you can download and use that information to create your import file. So as I open that link, this is what you're going to see. We're going to go to the instructions tab here. And it shows all of the instructions on how to set up your course with your import template. The first tab here is a Perkins 4 course example. This is a Perkins 5 course example. And then you can combine both Perkins 4 and Perkins 5 in your import template for your courses. The last tab here is the actual template, so you can download this and actually plug in all of your course information here. So once you have created your file, you will then select the import course file, and then CTEIS will have you import your course file. And then if any errors are in the record, it will be notified on that screen. To make any changes, once you have imported your courses, you would have to remove the file, make those changes offline to your import file, and then upload the file again. And again, if you want more in-depth information on importing courses, we did a demonstration in our spring task video, so I would refer you to that video. But once you imported your course and there aren't any errors in the system, then you will receive a success message that your courses have been created in the system. So that's how you manually input course information and import course information. For students, it works the same way. So again, under the Manage Students screen, you can add, edit, and review records. So CTEIS is prompting me to select a building. By default, CTEIS is going to give me all of the students that are in school. If I want to export this information to an Excel export, I can hit this export button. If I want to search for a particular student, you can type in these column headers by typing in the UIC or the name, and then hit the search button, and it will pull up that student record. If you want to create a new student record, you would go over to the right-hand side and hit the Add Student button. It will open up the panels at the bottom here to enter in core information for the student. Again, the highlighted information is information that's needed to create a record within CTEIS. So you would put in the first name, last name, date of birth, gender, sending building, and UIC. You cannot type in this MSDS data panel. Once you create the record in CTEIS, the CTEIS application will do its checks and give you UIC status dates and UIC status, and then fill in the MSDS data panel with the information that's in the system. So that's if you need to create a new record for a student. So once you have all of the core information in, you hit Save Student, you will receive a success message from CTEIS letting you know that that student file has been created. So that's if you want to manually input student information. To edit current information for an existing student, you can just click on the student icon. And as you can see, the panel is filled with the student information, the UIC status, and the UIC status date. So all of this information has been generated once the student has been saved in the system. It shows exit status. If the student is a migrant student, you can still change information here by selecting the box for single parent or out of workforce. If you want to make changes here, you can type in the fields to change the information and then hit the Save Student button. So if a student has an address change or some of the information is changed here, hitting that Save button once you enter in that information will then update it in the system. So we're going to go to a student record that has some program enrollment history. So as you can see here in the Manage Student screen, you can also access program enrollment history. So this student is enrolled in these particular courses. These are active courses. So it shows that the program, it's a regular course. And right now, the advancement status of the student isn't posted here because these courses are current. You can see the course beginning and end date, the building, the course name, the course section code, subsection, and then the grade. If you want to make edits to grades as well as high school or college credit information, you could do so by typing in the panels here or using the drop down for the high school and college credit. Once you make changes here, it will automatically update in the system. There's no need to hit save in that particular program enrollment history panel. Let's see if we can find. So this particular one has been updated in the system here. So it shows the courses. And just to give you a little bit of a breakdown of this program enrollment history panel, this row A here, we'll say this is row A. It shows the total segments and competencies that have been validated and granted to a student in this program. Since it's required that segments and competencies be validated and approved, they will only show those acquired in the previous year. We'll say row B is this row here where you see the boxes here. Row B are the courses that were passed with a 2.0 or above in the previous year. They are denoted by indicating the segments and competencies with the box around it and the number shading. And again, these aren't shaded because this was, well, this is a training site, but normally because of the date, this would be shaded. So that's column B. Column C shows the previous year course that was not passed with a 2.0 or above, and the segments and competencies provided in the course are boxed, but the lack of shading indicates that they were not approved. So just noticing that these two were grade Fs, the reason they're not shaded is because the student did not pass these courses. So I apologize about that. So yes, the F indicates that these were not passed, so that's why there's lack of shading in the column C. And then the last column is column D. It shows the current year courses. Again, segment and competencies provided by the course are boxed. And since they are not shaded, it means that the course is in the current year and have not been validated or approved. So I'll show another example maybe. I'll show this here. We have one. So this is indicated of the shading. And this particular student, these are courses that the student has passed. And then here, this shows the other course. So this is 2 courses with this program, and then a work-based learning experience. So if you want to go in again and change course information, the grade information, you can do so by clicking on the drop-down boxes here, or high school or college credits by clicking on the boxes here. This is if you want to manually go through and update or edit student information. If you want to import a student file with all of this information, just as we did with the courses, you want to go here to Student Course Enrollment Import. And it's going to prompt you to select your building. And then just as with the courses, you need to import your enrollment file. So as we did with our other demonstration, we'll show you where the templates are. So we got here by going under data entry and selecting imports. These are where the course import was that I showed earlier. This is the student import. So there's a file specification guide that will show you errors in your import record for students. So that's a very helpful guide if you want to access that. And then this one here is the student Excel template. So you can actually use this actual template by downloading this Excel template and fill in all of the core information for the student. And if you notice, you can also enter information in the enrollment. So if the student is enrolled in a course, you can put the course section code, the beginning and end date, the work-based learning subsection, and then the grade, just as we did with the manual entry. So once you have filled in all of your student information, you can then import the enrollment file here. Once it's created, CTEIS is going to prompt you to select your course file. You input that information into the system. If there are any errors, again, utilizing the import file specifications guide might be helpful to review errors that might come up in your student file. So this kind of goes through all of the information for imports for students. So it tells about the column headers, what's required. And then this is some of the errors that you may see in your import once you import your file, if there are errors in the record. So this pretty much gives an error message and then a resolution. So again, this can be accessed right in the template area right here under file formats for importing students. So just like with courses, there are two ways that you can input the students. Manual entry, we showed that, and then by using the course import as well as the student and course enrollment import feature. If you need to do mass course edit, this is if you've input course information and you need to edit course information as far as dates, you would hit the mass course edit under data entry, select your district, and this will give all of the records within the Breckenridge Community Schools. If you want to select multiple, this will CTEIS will give you the option to select multiple records here, and then you hit the update courses button. Again, you can go in if you need to make changes to dates for the courses, the semester, or if it's virtual or blended, or if you need to add high school credit or college credit information, you can do so by selecting your, making your selections of the courses. And that's what shows here. I selected all these courses and then hit the update courses button. So this is an edit that would apply to all of these courses that I selected. If you want to look for a particular course, you can do so by clicking on the column headers, and that information will be generated. You can also use this feature if you need to deactivate multiple courses. So again, go through and make your selection and then hit the deactivate courses button. If you need to renew multiple courses that are already within the system, again, we went through this information in our spring task. But this shows all of the courses. We'll go back here. This shows all of the courses that are within the Breckenridge Community Schools. As you can see, all of the courses here have been updated. That's why it's in the right-hand column here. If there were courses that needed to be updated, they would be here in the left-hand column. So once you make your selections here, over here in the left-hand column, you would hit the Renew Selected Courses, and that would appear here. And CTEIS will pull those courses forward. So as you can see, it updated and renewed the courses. That's if all of the course information is the same and no details need to be changed. You can select multiple records and update. The Manage Enrollment feature will allow you to select a particular, okay, so you select your district, but you can add, edit, and review enrollment information. We saw the program enrollment history panel under managed students. This is all of the enrollments within a particular course. So under the Breckenridge Community Schools, this is all of the courses that I have available in that school. Again, if you want to search for a particular course with students in it, you can go in and type in the column headers or use the column headers to sort for a particular course. But for this demonstration, we're just going to select the first one. And this shows that this course is existing. And this is the zoology course section code is here, the building. And this is all of the enrollments within that building. As you can see, there are grades here, beginning and end dates, work-based learning column, subsection, and then the sending facility. If you want to update enrollment information by selecting any of the students here, you can select the students, hit the update enrollment button, and then you can go in and apply a letter grade by using the drop down button here. You can change beginning and end date by using this here. If you want to put in work-based learning experiences at the enrollment level, you can type in the work-based learning experiences here, or if you need to change subsection information. Once you enter in that information, it will be applied to these 3 students that you selected, and then you can hit the update button. That's if any changes are needed to be made in the enrollment. Hitting the Add Enrollment button will allow you to select your building. And then this will allow you to select students to add to a particular building. So if you want to do this manually, again, you can use the student import feature and put course information in the import, but you can also go through and do this manually. So by selecting these particular students, you're adding them to the actual course that you selected. So this panel will give you all of the available students. As it says here, it's 184 students within this building. I can go through and select their name by identifying their UIC. I can again search for particular students, and you don't have to hit a save or update. Once you click the student in the column here to the far left, that information will automatically be updated in the system. So this is how you can add students to a particular course. If you want to copy and transfer student information, again, by highlighting multiple here, I just select this first box here. You can hit the copy transfer button. So you need to make your selection, whether it's going to be a copy or a transfer. Copying will keep the student intact in the current course and make a duplicate record. If you want to transfer the students that you select, you would then need to hit the transfer button. So this is prompting the new course information. So all of the courses that are available within the Breckenridge Community School are indicated here by using this drop down box. I can make my selection of new course and transfer the students if I need to do that. And then if you need to delete enrollments for whatever reason, you can go through, make the selections again, and then hit the delete button. And then again, it will get a success message once you go through that process. If you want to update grades but do not want to use a full import, you have the option of updating grades, which pertains to enrollment, by using a minimal import. And I'll show an example of the minimal import here. So let me switch my screen over. So this is a minimal import example. As you can see, if you just want to say, for instance, update grades, you can do so. See, this will recognize this import feature or this import template by using the UIC, the last name, the course section code, and the course grade. So there are not any templates on the knowledge base that has this particular template. You can create this one on your own by just making sure that you have the column header of a UIC, the last name, the course section code, and then the course grade. And you can do this and update all of the student grade information by using this and using the importing tool. So you would go back to, I'll go back to our so if you go here, data entry, student course enrollment import, and import your record once you create that Excel document. And that's a minimal import that will allow you to just input grades. So again, that might be useful for this particular time of the year. If you just want to import grade information but don't want to import all of the other information, CTEIS will just recognize those columns that are on that minimal import tool. So going into manage credentials. If you have credentials that you need to add, this is the manage credentials screen. It's prompting me to select the district. And as it shows in this particular district, there's only one program. Again, this is a demonstration, so I only have one program that I'm working with. If you want to receive a district-wide export, this is an Excel export, you can click this button here, and this will give you an export of students that received credentials for the past 4 years. So if you want to access that information for this particular district, you can access that, but just keep in mind that this is only students who have received credentials for the past 4 years. But if you want to go in and upload credentials, this is the manual way to do so. So hitting the select button will then open the panel. And this is all of the courses within this particular program. So again, you want to select your student groupings. You can select all currently enrolled, or you can go through and then select a particular course by looking at the course section code. Once you've made your selection, for this demonstration, I'm going to do all currently enrolled. You hit the load student button, and this will list all of the students that are enrolled. Now, if you want to get an export of this may be useful for you to print off and give to teachers to verify credential information. You can do that. It's going to give you all of the students that are enrolled here, as well as their credential information if it's recorded in the system. So if you apply a credential to a particular student, so you make your selection by identifying their UIC here. And then over here, it says select one credential to add. So I made my selection. If I wanted, this is an approved credential. If you want to select a supplemental credential, you can go here and identify the credential there. But we're just going to use this one for an example. And then here you want to add credential to selected student. CTEIS gave me a success message, and as you can see, it automatically applies in the credential column here. So for this student, I've applied this credential, and you could do so by selecting multiple students here and making your credential selection over here. And if you need to remove, you could just hit the remove button, and as you can see, that credential was successfully removed. If the program isn't going to have credential for this year, you need to make sure that you select this option here. It will then update that this particular program will not have any credentials. If you do not select this option here or put in the credential information here, you're going to get an error in the system in your validation because it's going to be looking for credentials for this particular program. And then this is just the search for student feature. If you want to, again, search for a particular student that you don't want to find in the panel here, and you can add that information as well, the credential information. So again, by selecting all currently enrolled, selecting the actual course, in school but not enrolled, and then hit the load student button to identify the students. So that's if you want to manually award credentials for a particular program. You can also upload credentials by going to upload here. Again, it's going to prompt me to choose my file. So we're going to go back to our knowledge base to show where we can find our credential files. So we're going to go under data entry here. We're going to select enrollment. And as I stated earlier, the Managed Credentials Guide, the current credentials as of September 2023 can be found here. So as I pulled that up in the panel in the credential screen, it's reflective of this Excel export here of the current credentials provided by OCTE. And then this is the actual Excel template. This here is the instruction tab. So it tells you how to set up your import file. And then it gives an example here. So as you can see, we have the UIC, the program serial number, the credential code, and then the credential name. If you hit the credential template, you can download this template and put in all of your student information and the credential information, and then import. So once you have created your import file, you will select the file here, hit the process records button, and then it will update in the system. Again, if you find any errors within your import, you do have to remove the file, make the corrections offline, and then input the file again. For a guide on credentials that outlines what credentials are, I'm going to go back to our knowledge base here and go to our Manage Credentials Guide. And this shows all of the credential information, the screens that you need to access, how to apply them. And then this is the import information. And then another useful tool here is the potential errors and resolutions. If once you enter in your import file and you get errors, this is what you can use to kind of troubleshoot that information. Moving on to our last topic before break is our managed work-based learning. So as with credentials, you can select the district here. Of course, we always have to select the district. And again, I'm working with one particular program. So I'm going to select that program. If you want to export of all students with work-based learning in the district, you can select this button here and you will be given an Excel export, just as with credentials. So we're going to select our program. The bottom panel opens here, just like with credentials. It tells us our program serial number and then all of the courses that are within that particular program. If you want to select all currently enrolled to select your student groupings, you can do that and then hit the show student buttons. If you want to do all in school but not enrolled, and then all students within in the program. So you have all currently enrolled or all students in a program. Again, by getting this here, you can export the students by selection, and you can give that information to your teachers to track work-based learning experiences. You can search for a particular student by using UIC by typing in this field here. So we're going to go ahead and show all currently enrolled, and it shows all of the students within the that selection that I made. So I can go through and make a selection of a student by identifying the UIC. And then over here, it's going to prompt me to enter the work-based learning experience. So it gives the valid codes here. So you can type up to 30 experiences within this field. So if I wanted to give 2 career awareness work-based learning experiences, I can type the 2 A's here. And then I need to make my selection if I want to overwrite the events that are already stored in the system. That means that all the work-based learning experiences that are stored within CTEIS will be overwritten. So these 2 will take the place of the ones that are in the system. If I want to add to the work-based learning experiences in the system, I would hit the append events, and then it will add to that. It won't overwrite them. Again, if this particular program will not have a work-based learning experience, you need to make sure that you check this box. Otherwise, CTEIS will be looking for the work-based learning experience in the system, and you'll receive an error in your validation. Now this button, you need to select this button to import any work-based learning experience from your enrollment records. As we showed, you can input enrollment, work-based learning in the program enrollment screens. If you do that, you need to make sure that you come in, make the selection of the course that you did that for, and then hit update from work-based learning. Select this button here, update work-based learning from enrollments, and that will pull those work-based learning experiences to the program level. So again, if your technique is to input your work-based learning in the Manage Enrollment screen, you need to come here, make the selection of the course you applied that to, and that will then pull that work-based learning experience forward. If you come in and select the program and give the work-based learning experience on this screen, you do not have to do any further process. It's already updated. For more information On work-based learning, we're going to go back to our knowledge base. Just as we were with our credentials under the special collections, we're going to go here to the work-based learning guide. And this shows all of the work-based learning information. So the work-based learning continuum, what the work-based learning codes are or experiences, what the work-based learning experiences are, how to enter in work-based learning. Again, there are two ways that you can enter in work-based learning experience. You could do that by enrollments or by programs. And then how to use the screens just as I indicated here. We're going to get into now how to import work-based learning, and this shows how to do that. Again, our column headers as well as information pertaining to how to set up your import tool. So we'll go back to the enrollment homepage. This is instructions. We're going to actually go back to this one here, the tracking sheet. This is the Excel template that you want to use to set up your work-based learning import. So again, it kind of outlines how to do that. If you scroll all the way down, as you can see, the UIC, first name, last name, program serial number, the program name, and then the work-based learning experiences. That's the instruction tab. If you click on the other tab, this is the actual download. So you can use this to enter in your work-based learning experiences and then import. So to import your work-based learning, you're going to come down and hit the import work-based learning and then choose your file and then load records. Okay, so we went through all of our review. We're going to take a 10-minute break now. And then when we come back from break, we're going to go into our review for our validation. So again, I'm going to set a timer for our 10-minute break. And we'll see you in 10 minutes. So I'm going to start this timer. Okay, we are back. Welcome back from break. We're going to go right into our review for our validation. On your screen, you should see our slide deck, and the slide is review your data. So before you can run the validation to ensure there are no errors within your data, it is encouraged that you review your data, and the following reports may be useful. So the student advancement export is a listing of students and segments and competencies by PSN and building. I'll show you where you can access that report. So you might find it useful to review that information to track completers. There's also the completer assessment summary that shows completion totals for the current school year. And then the last one is the program enrollment history report. That is a listing of student program and course history, and again, useful for finding completers. And you access these reports by going into the actual CTEIS application using your My Login credentials, and it's under the Reports tab. So again, you want to make sure that all of your information is input correctly. You want to make sure that you are tracking completer status, that you're going to have the completer information that you intend to have. So that's why it's encouraged that you review these reports before you run your validation. So getting back into our training site, we're still working under the enrollment column here, but we're going to, before we go to our enrollment completion, which is here, we're going to go under reports. So this was data entry. Now we're going to select reports. This will then open up the reports, and we're going to select building reports. That's the one that we're going to use for this collection period. So as it states here, this first section of information here are audit reports. The one that I pointed out was under program and student reports. That is the student advancement export. Again, this is a listing of students and segments and competencies by program serial number and building. So you're going to select this here, this button here. It's going to then generate an Excel export of that data. So you can review that information and review the student segment and competency information in one export. The next one was the completer assessment summary, which is directly underneath that. If you hit this button, it's going to prompt you to select the building. The other report wouldn't generate for me by this being a training site. Let's see if this one will load for me here. Okay, so this is the completer summary report for 2023-2024. As you can see, it tells the CEPD, the building, the program name, and then the number of completers, the number of concentrators, the number of enrollees, and then the number of participants. So again, this information might be useful if you're trying to track completer information or to see the different numbers of the data that you have entered into the system. So if this information is not matching or not accurate according to your records, you want to make sure that you go back through your data and make sure that all of your data that you entered in for the students are correct. So that's the completer assessment summary. Let's see if the export will work for me here, just as an example. Okay, so yeah, this one is a training site. It doesn't always pull that one up. And then the last one was the program enrollment history. So again, that one is useful for finding completers as well. So you would select the building, and then it will pull up that information just as it did with the other example for the completers. So again, you want to make sure that you review these reports once you're logged into the actual CTEIS application, and make sure that your data is accurate by utilizing these resources. So once you've went through and found out that information, we're going to do a demo of how the validation would work. So we're going to go back under data entry, and then we're going to go down to enrollment completion. So as a building reporter, you can do this process as many times as necessary to make sure that all of your data is correct. As you can see, it's selected by default the year. You can go through and select another year if necessary. But by default, we're in 2023, 2024. It shows that as a building reporter, I have 2 buildings assigned to me. When you log into the actual application, you want to pay close attention to this number, because you're going to have to submit a report for all of the buildings that are assigned to you. So for this demonstration, I only have 2 here, but I'm only going to be working out of the Breckenridge Community Schools. So just to show an example here, I'm going to hit the validate button. So by hitting this button, it's going to run a check within the system, and it's going to find that if there are any errors or issues within my record. So as you can see, I can export this information to an Excel document so that I can review that information offline to cross-reference with some of the data that I have from instructors and that I have input into the system over time. But as you can see, all errors here need to be addressed. Okay, so that brings me back to this important point. I'm going to, hopefully you're back on our PowerPoint slides here. And running the validation, again, you can practice this process by going to train.cetis.com, but you want to run the validation for all of the buildings assigned to you. And then again, you could use this slide deck for the links to that guide that'll show all of the process that I'm doing right now. But I want to highlight, if there are errors, you must correct them before submission. You are encouraged to use building reports or exports to assist in troubleshooting the errors. And I'm going to go to that enrollment resolution guide. Warnings, however, need to be closely inspected to complete the validation process. So you can submit your report with warnings in your record, but you want to make sure that you are aware of the warnings and that your information is in the system as you want it to be. So going back to our validation, as you can see, some of the errors that I have within this particular building shows 0 enrollment for the class. So I didn't input class information for these courses. The other warning is second semester without enrollments, beginning and end date. So you need to go through and identify all of these errors. If this was close to the deadline for submission, let's say, for instance, if this was June, I needed to make sure that all 128 of these issues that are errors need to be fixed before I can submit this to my fiscal agent. So that's why we encourage you to run the validation as soon and as often as possible, so that you're aware of the data that you need to input, so that you can have your information into the system before the due dates. So for this particular demonstration, I'm going to use the Breckenridge Community School, and we're going to go and clear some of the errors within that record. Once you submit your report, you will then have access to the 4483 report, which is a summarized course level report, and then the 44 STD is the 4483 RPT with the class student list. So you can access these reports once you've made your submission to your fiscal agent. So we're going to hit validate for the Breckenridge. And as you can see, there are 4 issues here. And we're going to go through and correct these issues here. So as you can see, there's a program issue. It tells me the program and the issue description. So the program is missing work-based learning experiences. The next one is a student error under the managed student, and it shows me the student UIC, and it says that there's an invalid or wrong school grade, and the student has no UIC or MSDS on record. And this is the information that you want to keep in mind for the May 10th date. You want to make sure that the UICs are accurate and that the students have MSDS records. For this particular demonstration, my UICs are not accurate, so I may get errors pertaining to that because all of my information is for demo purposes. So it's not real UICs. So we're going to go through and try to remove that error. We have 2 enrollment errors where there is M6 for migrant student information. So I stated if you have migrant students, you need to make sure that you identify them so that you don't get an error for this. So the first one we're going to go to is this program here under the Breckenridge School, and we're going to do something about that missing work-based learning. So we're going to go up here under data entry, and we're going to go to work-based learning. Select our district, again, 1 program. And if I wanted to give work-based learning experiences, again, I need to go through and make the selection of the course. But for this particular demonstration, we're just going to say that this program will not have work-based learning experiences. But I showed the process earlier. If you do give work-based learning experiences, just select, and then you would select the work-based learning experience. So now that I made that correction, I didn't have to hit save or anything. It automatically updated within the system. So I can go back to enrollment completion. I'm going to run that validation again. And now we have 3 issues. So now the next one that we're going to attempt to clear is this invalid student grade UIC is not accurate. So we're going to copy down this student information and try to clear this out. Okay, what I'm doing now is just going through, I put a student within a course at some point during the demonstrations today. So I'm going to go through and make that correction. So I copied down the course information from that student panel. Again, this is kicking out errors because of this being a demo site, but you want to make sure that you're utilizing the reports. Sometimes in the validation, it'll also give a report that CTEIS will refer you to kind of troubleshoot this information. You can also use the print icon here to generate a class student list for each particular course section code that is here. So if you want to have an Excel document of a class student list, you can do that. So we're going to go back to our validation. And now it shows that I have two issues to correct here. Okay, so this one, it shows that there is a migrant student information, M6 course section, invalid for migrant student. And it shows the two courses. So we have it for course 3080.1.1a, and then the course 3080.1001.1b. So I want to make sure that I go in and find that migrant student information. So I can go under, it's an enrollment error. You can go in here and we're going to go under the manage students to pull up that student information. I'm going to put the student UIC within the And so it shows here under the managed student screen that this is a migrant student. So at some point, I need to make sure that I identify all of the migrant students within my district. So to do that, you can go to reports, hit the reports tab or header, go to building reports. And then if you go down here, there's a migrant student report. So you're going to select this. And this will allow you to see if you have, excuse me, migrant students within your caseload. If you have migrant students and you haven't put in M6 clock hours, you're going to get an error because CTEIS is going to recognize that there is a migrant student and that they need clock hours. So as you can see here, the student UIC, it shows the course details and there's 0 here for that M6 clock hours. So I want to go in and make sure that I give that information. So again, identifying that student. And then as we can see here, there are clock hours or course section clock hours for these particular courses that are past courses. But I can go through and select for the current course. So we go here. And as you can see, CTEIS is automatically updating that information in the system. So I have 2 success messages because I applied that M6 course section information. You could do the same for clock hours. And to give you a breakdown of what all of this means, if you have migrant students, I'll show you the guide. So we're back to our enrollment homepage. So we go to data entry and select enrollment, and it'll bring us to this page. And as you can see, there's a migrant student guide here. There's also a migrant student guide if you go under the CTEIS year in, where all of our documentation is for this particular collection. And it's one here. It's the same guide, just in two different places. So as you can see, this is the M6 course and clock hour document as given to us by OCTE. This is the definition of what those mean, the description, and then the code is listed here. And it shows how to add and edit course section ID and clock hours for migrant students. It shows the panel and where to do that, just as I did in the demonstration. So if you want to download this, if you have migrant students and you've identified by looking at the report, you can use this document. So since I fixed that information, I can go back in and go to our validation and run that validation again. We're doing it for Breckenridge. And now it says validation passes. So this is all of the information that I would have to do leading up to that enrollment data deadline. Again, you want to do this for all of the buildings that you are assigned to, and you want to make sure that all of the information is accurate. Again, you can pass validation with warnings, but you want to make sure that you pay attention to the warnings and the data is in the system as you want it to appear. So as a building reporter, I can go ahead and complete. This is the process that you want to do before that data deadline. So I would hit complete as a building reporter. And as you can see, this is a new feature, but it's not showing up on my screen. This is an assertion. The assertion is asking, it says, by clicking OK, I assert that all enrollment information submitted for this building is accurate and complete. So CTEIS is asking me to verify that I have verified my information, that it's accurate. So just giving a kind of accountability there. So once I hit that OK button, it's then going to update in the system. And now, as you can see, that Breckenridge Community Schools, there's no longer a validation option here, and this building has an X in it. So as a building reporter, I cannot make any edits in this building. I have asserted the information, I have confirmed that the information is accurate, and I've sent it to the fiscal agent. So at this particular moment, if this was the only building that I had, I would be done for the this portion of the enrollment completion information. And then that information, CTEIS will attempt to email the fiscal agent, but it is a good practice for you to reach out to your fiscal agent to let them know that you have submitted that report. Again, you would do this for all of the buildings. So because I'm assigned 2 buildings, I have to go through and validate and run the validation for this building as well. But for this demonstration, I'm going to log off as a building reporter. And now I'm going to log in as a fiscal agent. I've been given fiscal agent access for this training purpose. And as you can see, this is a little bit different. So it says admin and reports. So I'm going to hit the admin header and I'm going to go under fiscal agent monitoring. So I'm going to go under enrollment completion enrollment collection submission. This one is prompting me to select a year. And this is all of the buildings that I have assigned to me as a fiscal agent. So I'm going to go through and identify that Breckenridge school. And as you can see, it's a little bit different. So all of these schools have not been submitted yet, but I can go through and view issues for these schools here. And then again, that report information will be generated once I submit the report. I can access the report information. But as you can see, this Breckenridge Community Schools, which is here, has a send back or submit option. As a fiscal agent, if the building reporter contacts me and needs that building released at the fiscal agent level, I can send it back and that building will open to the building reporter. But if everything is all set to go, I've viewed the issues and everything is good, I can then submit this report to the CEPD administrator. So I'm going to go back to our knowledge base to show where the fiscal agent guides are for this process. We will have CEPD administrator fiscal agent training coming up at the end of May, where we will go over procedures for fiscal agents such as CEPD options, as well as submission practices. So here is fiscal agent. And this is all of the fiscal agent information. So for this particular process, I'm going to go under submission process. And this is all of the process of running the validation and submission at the fiscal agent level. So it shows how to go in, return or complete, as I stated, and then viewing the reports. This here is just a double document here. It shows for both the fiscal agent and the CEPD administrator. But if you can access all of the fiscal agent information, again, the processes will be updated for the next training session, but we're going under submission processes. So to go back here, I'm going to submit because everything is okay. Again, CTEIS is asking me to assert as a fiscal agent. I want to pay attention to that assertion, making sure that the enrollment information submitted for this building is accurate and complete. And now that is all set here. So as you can see at the building level status and as the fiscal status, there is an X. So as a fiscal agent, I can no longer work within that building. And you want to do this process for all of the buildings that are assigned to you as a fiscal agent, just as it was with the building reporter. So I have that success message here for that particular building. That's all I would need to do. Again, CTEIS will try to attempt to email the CEPD administrator, but it is a good practice as a fiscal agent to reach out to them. So we go under CEPD admin. And now as a CEPD admin, this is the process that would take place. We'll go under enrollment collection overview. And I did make a mistake with the fiscal agent information in the guide. CEPD options is a CEPD administrator task. So as you can see here, all of the tasks that are required for each particular role here is outlined here in the access panel that you have. So for this demonstration, I have access as a fiscal agent and as a CEPD admin. So this is all of the fiscal agent permissions here, and then this is the CEPD admin permissions here. So CPED options, again, we will go through that information in the training for the CPED administrator, but for today, we're going under the enrollment collection. So I'm going to select the year. And as you can see, again, for all of the buildings, as a CPED administrator, I have 53 buildings that I would need to go through and view issues, or if needed, or assist as needed for those particular buildings. But for this demonstration, we're sticking with the Breckenridge Community Schools. And it shows that the building reporter has sent it at the building level. The fiscal report agent has submitted it at the fiscal level. If I want to to send back to the fiscal agent, I can hit that send back button, and then it will open for the fiscal agent. But as a CPED administrator, if everything is all set, as you can see, 2 buildings have already been submitted to OCTE according to this record here. And as you can see, there's an X in the record here. So OCTE has that information there. I can send for review to OCTE as a CPED administrator. And this is the process that you want to do by that second due date as a CPED administrator. So I'm going to go ahead. Again, the assertion is asking me to assert that the information is accurate and complete. And now, as a CPED administrator, it is submitted under mine here. So that has been transferred to OCTE. And again, the documentation for the CPED administrator, as you can see, there's a success message here, but the documentation for a CPED administrator can be found going under administrator, selecting CPED admins, and then again, all of the information here. So we're going to go through the last bullet point, submission processes. And again, it outlines how to run the validation and how to submit in this last page here as a CPED administrator, what to select and how to send back. So to recap, we did our submission demo. After you have cleared all errors and expected warnings, if you have them, you must submit your building to complete your report. Again, I have showed that validation and submission at the building reporter level, and also at the fiscal and CPED admin levels. So that's the submission. So this is the information that you want to do before the due dates. So again, this is all of the information that we were going to cover. We're going to go into our looking ahead, but I just want to remind you of the knowledge base. One second to pull it up here. This is the knowledge base, and the knowledge base has all of the templates that we have went through today, as well as the guides. If you hover over data entry, select enrollment, go down to the middle and select year-end completion. All of the guides that we went through today can be accessed here, as well as the enrollment and error resolution guide. Again, this guide is very helpful in identifying the errors. So if you click that error resolution guide, you can see errors and MSDS information as it's listed. So like if you have a UIC error message, there's a resolution. If you have program errors, there's the error that you would see in the system, and then there's a resolution. Student has UIC has no current MSDS on record. I actually had that one. In that particular case, you would need to troubleshoot to make sure that the information is correct in the system, and then you may have to contact the help desk for UIC issues if you've done or exhausted all of the reports that we have available. So it just shows all of the resolutions for the errors that you may receive within the record, enrollment errors, and then other. So this is a very useful guide. I would suggest to print this or have this handy when you're doing your validation. One more thing that I want to point out as we go into our looking ahead is the enrollment deadline. And this is when this is May 10th, 2024. You have to make sure that all students are enrolled and at least one course section with correct UICs and MSDS fields are up to date. So this is the reports that you might want to run by that date to make sure that your student information is correct. So again, going back to our reports page, in our actual application, when you log in using your My Login credentials, you want to go in under Reports, select Building Reports, and then these reports might be useful for UIC errors. So bad UIC by building, UIC with no current MSDS. So that information you can generate by selecting these buttons, and it might be helpful for identifying that information before May 10th. If you want to use the UIC checker, going in under data entry, going to manage students, you would go in and select the building that the student is in. Again, by default, CTEIS is going to give us all that are in school. You select your record by identifying the UIC, and this is the check UIC button. So if you want to go in, if you're getting information and you run the check by using the check UIC button, it will give you the status information. As it states here, this UIC status date is April 8th. So that was the last time it was verified in the system. So you want to make sure that all of that information is accurate before that May 10th. Again, one course section and UIC information as well as MSDS. That's this data panel here. That information is accurate. The next date that we're looking ahead to is the Fiscal Agent CEPD Administrator Training. That's going to take place on May 29th. I've kind of went through that information just a few minutes ago. The Fiscal Agent, we will review the Fiscal Agent submission. For the CEPD Administrator, we will review the CEPD options information for the spring. So you want to attend that training. If you have not signed up for that training, we encourage you to do so if you are a level 5 fiscal agent or a CEPD administrator. This is the last training session for all building reporters and all enrollment information. We do have an e-workshop that's coming up June 11th, 2024. That information will be posted on the knowledge base. But if you want to put a pin in it or write down that date, just to remind yourself, June 11th, we will be here in our e-workshop. It's a drop-in portion where you can come in and ask your questions while you're getting your data ready for that completion report. So we would encourage you to keep that date in mind to save the date for that. And then the end of the year completion due date to your CEPD administrator is June 13th, 2024. So you want to make sure that you have that information to your CEPD administrator by June 13th. And then the CEPD administrator will submit that information to OCTE by June 20th. And again, that's all of the information as far as your program information, your student information, your credentials, and your work-based learning. And it was encouraged that all of your credential information be in the system if you have that information available. Um, but if you don't have that information, which we were informed that some people don't have that information at the particular moment, you want to make sure that you start preparing yourself for that information. So again, over here on the side panel are all the dates on the right hand side of the knowledge base. And as you can see, if you go down here, this is the end of the year completion, and all of that information is due. And then here it says credentials, preliminary reporting due to your administrator, again, by that end of the year completion date, which is the June 13th. But then final reporting is due to OCTE by August 31st. So if there is time that you need to fill in that final report information, again, if this affects you, but if you have that credential information, we would encourage you to turn it in at the end of the year completion date. So this is the end of our training. This is all of the information that we have available for this particular collection period. Again, all of that information can be found on the knowledge base. If you have any technical issues and you need technical support, we would encourage you to reach out to the CTEIS help desk. The email as well as the telephone number is available there on the slide deck. As well as if you have policy questions, we direct you to reach out to OCTE directly, and that's Joan Church. Her email as well as her telephone number is in the slide deck as well. Diana has dropped the e-workshop hours for June 11th in the chat. So it goes from 9 to 12 and then from 1 to 4. Thank you, Diana, as well as the link for the training evaluation. After I end this training session, you'll be prompted to fill out a training evaluation of our performance today. We really appreciate all of your responses. So if you can do that, we would really appreciate it. But if you need to leave before I officially end the training, you can click on that link and you'll be prompted to fill out that evaluation. So this is all of the information that we have today. This concludes our training. I will remain on for a few minutes to answer any questions about the material that I presented today. If you do not have any questions and you're all set, you are free to go. We will see you in the next training session. Thank you for your time and attention.